The Queen Charlotte Bridgerton Netflix show was recently released, and I think it's safe to say that it was a show that pulled on everybody's heartstrings for a number of different reasons. Considering the show was only 6 episodes long, yes, you heard that right, 6 episodes, it managed to make the impact of a show that you'd spent seasons growing and learning about the characters, so it was truly one of a kind. Unlike most shows, this one didn't really have a happy ending. It had a happy message and story throughout, but the ending proved to be quite sad, and along with that, there were many other sad moments in the show too. So with that, I thought I'd break down and explain what I thought the saddest moment in the entirety of the show was and explain why. So let's get into it. Here is the saddest moment in the Queen Charlotte Bridgerton Netflix show. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. I'm going to start with the moment that was close to taking the title as the saddest and most emotional moment, but it missed out ever so slightly. It was close, so close. However, there was happiness that was embedded throughout it, and despite being emotional, it was laced with happy feelings. This was the closing moment of the season where we saw that Queen Charlotte went to King George's chamber in the present day. This was a moment that was heartbreaking, but also highlighted the amount of love that was between the pair for the decades that they were together, really showing us what true love was and supporting everything that we saw unfolding throughout the 6 episodes that we had when they first met. The entirety of the show was spent focusing around a couple of different things. The love that was between the both of them, the securing of an heir so that King George's line would be able to continue on, and also the idea that King George was some kind of monster due to the illness that he had, and the fact that he wanted to keep it hidden away. King George felt as though he didn't deserve happiness, and he thought that he was going to make Queen Charlotte unhappy. But that wasn't the case. We saw that Queen Charlotte actually wanted to help him, love him, and support him with all of the issues that he was facing. She did truly love him, and that was shown to us in a number of different ways. She quite literally saved his life from the doctor that was running all kinds of extreme experiments on him, which was actioned by his mother. She was there for him, and she loved him no matter what. However, the moment that became extremely sad in this love story was when she went to visit him in the closing moments of the season. We saw that in his old age, his condition had gotten worse, and he was still obsessed with the stars and also drawing all over the wall. So much so that he didn't even really notice that Queen Charlotte had entered. However, the love that they had and the importance that she held in his life was still so present, as she managed to snap him out of the mindset that he was in, something that only she was able to do. It was here where we saw her share the news that they'd managed to continue on the family line due to their son having a legitimate wife and also being pregnant. This was then where we saw that under the bed, the place where he used to go to hide from the heavens, was the place that they were all of those years later in the present day, and it cut between the younger versions and older versions of the both of them, showing how far of a journey that they'd been on together, and the love that they had was real, true love, and something that people are lucky to get if they ever have a love so strong. She stood by him no matter what, and cared about him more than anybody else. The line about her not going over the wall was something that was so powerful, and it made you realize how their lives could have been so different if she had of. The giggling and sharing of laughter right at the end as the camera faded to black was the most perfect way for this show to finish. And despite it having happy undertones, there was a sense of sadness that was definitely at the forefront of it, because deep down, Queen Charlotte was alone in the present day, and she was almost mourning her husband before he was gone. We got 2 ends of a love story, and the heartbreaking reality of the struggle that they had, not because they didn't care for one another, but because of the illness that King George had. So this then brings me on to what I believe the saddest and most emotional moment in the entirety of the show was. This was a relationship that I didn't expect to get so invested in as the show was unfolding. This was the love story of Brimsley and Reynolds, 2 characters that had a constant presence throughout the show, and we saw that in the early days of their relationship they wanted and yearned to be with one another, but the fact that they had to keep it a secret meant that it was difficult for them to be with one another. We saw their relationship develop and undergo certain issues just like Queen Charlotte and King George's did, not on the scale of an illness, but the fact that they had their duty to their superior, and the disagreements that each of them would have. With the ending of the story from the past being the both of them dancing, albeit in private, we were led to believe that there was some kind of happy ending that was there. However, that wasn't the case, and that's where I believe the saddest moment occurred. A moment where as they were dancing, the camera transitioned into the present day, and we saw that Brimsley was reminiscing over the moment all of those years ago, but he was now dancing on his own in the exact location where he once danced with his true love, Reynolds. The look of sadness that was present on his face as he was dancing alone was something that made your stomach drop, and you really felt the pain that he was going through as he was mourning the relationship that he once had. The point of this scene was to show us that Reynolds was no longer around, and that he may well have died, hence why Brimsley was riddled with loneliness and despair. I know since the show has aired, it's been said that there was a deleted scene of Brimsley bumping into Reynolds in the present day, but that's not canon or part of the story as it didn't actually happen or be shown to us. So we must work with what the show has given us, and I would assume that Reynolds had either died or left his position as the king's helper, thus leaving Brimsley on his own. Pairing that with the scene that we had earlier on in the season where Queen Charlotte asked Brimsley if he had any family, and with him responding and saying that nobody would be able to have the time to love him, it painted a very sad, lonely story for Brimsley, and an ending that did take me by surprise, because I thought they were going to get their happy ending. Having a happy moment of them embracing, dancing together, and it looking like they were going to get an ending that left a smile on your face, but instead following it up with an ending where one of them was on their own and we didn't see what happened to the other, it was something that was utterly heartbreaking, and it made you go from extremely happy to extremely sad. It was a creative decision that drew out the most emotions and painted the saddest end to any of the stories that were within the show. This show was truly one of a kind, and I was shocked at how much I got invested in the story, the characters, and the romances as they were all unfolding. With it only being 6 episodes, I feel they managed to deliver a story that felt like it was far longer. I would quite comfortably say that this is the best installment in the Bridgerton series. It touched on real emotion, and it did a phenomenal job at bringing it out of every single one of us audience members. Something which I feel most TV shows, movies, and love stories would want to be able to. So despite King George and Queen Charlotte's end being pretty sad, I would have to say that the saddest moment in the entirety of the Queen Charlotte Bridgerton Netflix show goes to the moment where we saw that Brimsley was dancing on his own, mourning the loss of the love of his life, Reynolds. So, there you have it, the saddest moment in the Queen Charlotte Bridgerton Netflix show. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What do you think the saddest moments is? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.